Happy day zero, y'all. Somehow Palpatine survived. I survived. That's right. I made it a whole nother year, and tomorrow is May 9th. And you know what that means. Okay, maybe you don't know what that means. But if you don't, that's what this video is for. It's been a tradition for me for the past decade now that from May 9th to May 16th, we do something called Deathiversary. Why is it called that? Who died? Nobody. That's right, the name doesn't make sense and is needlessly morbid. But I've been using it for like 9 years now, and I'm not going to stop. And frankly, I like the irony. It kind of puts into perspective what all of this is about. And what it's about is, I thought stuff was going to go down, but it never actually did. And I'm not going to get into those details, but if you can figure out why the last day is May 16th and what happened 10 years ago that was pretty bad news, then you can do the envelope calculations yourself. What matters is that 10 years ago, I watched every Godzilla movie in a row, plus the cartoons, and this was back when there only was one cartoon, plus a few other things, and then a year passed, and I found myself back in May 9th again, kind of sitting on my hands. So I did it again. And then it was May 19th, 2016, and I survived again. So I did it again. Now, there's a little more to it than just watching movies. So far, every year since 2016 has had a gimmick, and they've also all had a little project. And when I say project, I mean some kind of personal creative thing that I work on piece by piece each day. At first, it was blog posts, and I did video essays one year, and one year I made this collage of TV pictures I took with my phone. It's a whole thing. But anyways, that's not why I'm on here on a public YouTube video. Last year I did a cool gimmick where I streamed it over on my Twitch channel, which is a thing I have, but don't quite understand. Is that a thing you're allowed to do? Are you supposed to do that? I don't know. But I didn't record a VOD for any of those streams, and Twitch has never seemed to care then or any of the other times I've done the horror host thing over on my channel. I'm sure if I was like a big famous somebody, they would probably put a lot more eyes on me, and maybe that means I wouldn't be able to get away with that. But I'm a small, infamous nobody, so they don't really seem to care. I will say, though, that I did get a 3-day ban from Twitch one time when I was streaming Enter the Dragon on Loon Years, because I forgot that that movie had boobs in it. They, hold on a minute. Yeah, sorry, live to OBS and I got tripped up in the script. So they don't seem to care if they, rather, if I play corporately owned monsters, but you have boobs up on screen for a few seconds and they got their finger on the button real quick. Go figure. Well, Godzilla movies don't really have boobs in them, except for that one really obviously fake set in 15. But for reasons related to the gimmick, we're watching the dub of that one this year, which I'm pretty sure cut that part out. But I'll double check and make sure and take care of that, Now you might be thinking, whoa, cool, a Twitch Godzilla-thon stream? That sounds great. How and when can I watch it? Well, hold on there, little doggies. We got some orientation to deal with first. That's right, you gotta listen to me lecture you about things. Are you excited for the next hour? It's not gonna be that long, don't worry. Well, it's not gonna be that long because you can see the thing. Well, it's gonna be that long if I don't get back on script like right now. So the first thing I want to get out of the way is a few rules. I only have 3, but they're important and it'll only take a second. Now I know this is going to pop up in the thing when you click in the Twitch chat, and it'll have the thing if you've never been in before. So cool. But just if you're coming from here, just getting this out of the way. There are 3 things that we're not going to tolerate there. No bigotry or any other kinds of Nazi shit. No narcs. Don't bring your narcs around here. And we're not going to do any of that monster fight, bro, kind of thing. The Hollywood, Monsterverse, whatever. You want to see that, you can come on May 17th when we do Geno Day. But even then, it's probably not gonna be for the Monsterverse bros, because we're just gonna get high and laugh at how stupid and awful it is. So If you think that sounds like a good time, come on by, Yokero Taco Bell, let's do it. But if they're all gone, like I said, it starts on the 9th, which is tomorrow from this upload and recording. And we're going to go every day, probably in 2 chunks. The start time will be about noon in Pacific time. That's the specific time it'll start, which is Central Time -2, UK time -8, German time -9, and Japan time -16. Now, when I say about noon, I mean generally noon, so like 12 p.m., but I may end up starting earlier on some days. The earliest we'll probably start will be about 10, and then the latest will be 13 or 1 p.m. for those of you using those dumb 12-hour clocks. So the window is 10 to 3, give or take. 10 to 13, rather, give or take. Which I know is kind of a big window, but I am also juggling other stuff in the middle of this as well. So I can't guarantee I'll be there at noon PST on the money every day. To get notified, of course, you can follow my channel, which obviously I'll leave in the description, and I'll even have a link to it on screen right now if I can figure out how to do that. Sure was embarrassing when I put up the -1 video and I said, oh, and I'll definitely have a thing on screen where you can skip past this part, and then I couldn't figure out how to do it. I don't even know if it's I couldn't figure it out or if it's just not a thing that's possible. Whatever. As for the duration, there are 33 movies now, so it doesn't neatly divide into 8 like it used to. Although as part of the gimmick, we're doing Zone Fighter again, but just the Godzilla episodes, which altogether account for another feature-length chunk of time. So what's happening on each day, I'm unsure, but usually we'll go in about chunks that run roughly 2 feature lengths long. Now this may change on day 6, which is the 14th, but we'll have to figure that out along the way because I'm not certain what I'm going to do, if there's going to be a scheduling conflict or not that day. 1 or 2 days will need to go longer, so about 3 feature lengths. And one of these will probably be the day we do Godzilla's Revenge, because that one's only 70 minutes. So we're looking at somewhere around 3 to 4 hours each. So starting at noon, expect that to mean ending at 15 to 16 or 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific time. After that, I'll have to take a break to go take care of some other things, and then I won't be back later until the evening to do the rest of it. When we start in the evenings, I'm less certain, but the break could be from 2 to 4 hours, meaning the second part of the day could start between 18 to 20, or for 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific. I'll try not to start later than that, but things can and do usually happen, so just be aware. Again, the best way to know exactly when we're up and running is just to follow me, and you should get an alert. Either way, start and stop windows being what they are, if you come in the early afternoon or towards the later evening or night, then, or for the time zone that I'm in at least, then you'll probably catch me live. The last thing to settle is some orientation. All right, this is the fun part. Because this year's gimmick, inspired by -1, is going to be... We're doing things in chronological order, and I mean entirely chronologically. I've made special little edits to cut things... Not now, phone. To cut things up in the cases where the films themselves bounce around. Only a couple of them do that, by the way. You may not be as super keenly aware of how nerdy I am about this stuff, because my finished continuity barely breaks the surface of how deep my half-finished part 2 of the continuity thing goes. But trust me when I say I'm very confident in the order, and I've been working on it for some time. I've used all my Godzilla nerd powers to get it right. So we'll start in 1944 with that sequence from Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, and then we end in about 21,300, but potentially it's even later than that because mine and Yana look pretty old, with the coda of Planet Eater. We, of course, still follow the Deathiversary tradition of doing the first movie on day 1, Planet Eater on Sad Death Night, and Biollante on day 5. It's the way it's always been, or at least since Planet Eaters come out, that's the way it's always been, and that's the way it always will be. Now, as you probably know, the Godzilla series isn't just one timeline. There's a whole bunch of them. Some of them are related, and some aren't. To organize all of that, let me give you some orientation on the setup. So, first of all, let me highlight my little dolly here so I can move it around. First of all, we have this box in the center, this big one, which we're going to use for titles, like so. As you can see, I'm using the longest titles for each to make sure I get the width right, which actually, can we make this a tiny bit smaller? Because it's kind of... Now, to the right of that is the year that the thing we're currently watching takes place in. Now, there's some wiggle room for dates here, because not all the movies and other things we'll watch have hard dates, or even soft ones, or even really care. That said, I've done the best I can, so even if it's not exactly right, if there even is a right answer, which there isn't for a lot of this stuff, you know, at least it's in the ballpark. Now, the box on the left side there is where we're going to have a little icon that's going to tell you which timeline we're in. So this is a little complicated, as you, because as you may well know, up until Shin, the Godzilla series never really did a full reboot per se. They just kept going back to the original film and wiping all the sequels away. So most of the timelines branch out from the events of the original film, and then one of those branches includes the Versus series, which has its own sub-branches because of not just the time travel shenanigans, but also the multiple instances now of like kind of sequels. Because of this, some events will happen in multiple timelines and then some only in one. I drew up a dendrogram here for your convenience. Let me just kind of get out of the way here. And I want to go through the symbols for each of these things real quickly here as part of the orientation. So the symbol here, that's going to be the whole 1954 continuity family. Aside from the timeline of Megaguirus, which had a different Godzilla appear at the same time as the first generation one. Anytime you see this one here, that is the symbol for the timeline of Megaguirus, which, yeah. And this is only taking place in the GXM timeline. This is 54, not because it'll make sense. It'll make sense when we're watching them. And that's the symbol for the Showa timeline. Easy. So the Versus continuity is a little bit more complex. So there's 4 futures, one of which we never see on screen in any capacity, and one of which only appears in the Gemstone G-Fest shorts, which, yes, we will be watching. So this symbol, this one here with the teal Ghidorah, means this is far enough back in the timeline that it applies to all branches of the future in the Versus continuity family. Further up is the first time things change from the Versus 1 branch, and this red and gold version covers all possible futures except the Versus 1 branch. This gold one here is the far future of the Versus 2 timeline, which we see once, which is where Mecha King Ghidorah originally comes from. This red one here, yeah, that one, the red one, covers all the possible futures. No. The red one covers the rest of the original Versus series up until the later, like, half sequels. And by half sequel, I mean that, like, they weren't... This is kind of a discussion for another time, but, like, they're not great being sequels, and they kind of have nothing to do with the things that they're sequels to. And then, you know, blah, 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 but whatever. So I wrote more here than I actually needed to say. This one here with the darker, with the navy circle behind it, that's going to be for Final Wars, and this one here is going to be for your Gemstone shorts. All right, And then the last bits of the 54 continuity family that we have is this one for Godzilla 2000, which actually doesn't really have continuity. I mean, supplemental materials have said that it's a sequel to the original, but there's actually none of that in the movie itself. All they tell you is that Godzilla exists. But whatever. When we do that, that's what that means. This one here is going to be for GMK. Obviously, that's the GMK Godzilla in there. And this one here is going to be for the GMMG continuity, or the Kiryu saga, as it were. Now, finally, we come to the full reboots. So the SJHU has done something of a return to the pre-home video era continuity logic of the Showa era, with the 3 live-action entries, but only one of them has Godzilla in it, so we don't really need to entangle that knot. It gets a lot more confusing with Godzilla vs. Evangelion, which has the Asuka and Evas from the rebuild continuity, but the Godzilla from Shin. And, like, obviously none of the live-action SJHU movies take place in the rebuild timeline, right? Like, there's no second impact. So that throws all of that off. So it sort of implies, like, an extremely deep branching between, like, the first impact, you know, going all the way back to the first impact, and then whatever is the reason that the Godzilla and Shin Godzilla is so different, you know? But also, like, I'm not going to bother figuring that out. So here's the deal. We got 2 symbols for SJHU. That one's for the movies, the live action movies. And it's red because they use red whenever they do the merchandising for Godzilla in the SJHU style. And then this one here with the gold, that one's for the short, because gold, you know, Ghidorah is gold, and Ghidorah only exists in the short and not in the live action movie continuity, which isn't even really I'm done talking about it. Okay, so we only got 2 more left, and that's this one, which is for Anagaji, the anime timeline, and that one there, which is, of course, for the -1 timeline. And that is all of the timeline. Oh my god, thank god, we're done. All right. Let me get up on my soapbox here. All right. I'm going to be honest with y'all. This is probably going to be the last true Deathiversary. When I see y'all again the same time next year, Deathiversary is going to change. It's not going away. It's part of me now. It's an important part, and some parts of this tradition will never change. Exactly which parts isn't totally decided yet, because it's not something for me to think about right now. I'm in the middle of a lot of very big changes, and it's all very intense and heavy and difficult to deal with and process, mentally, emotionally, and physically. But dread for the future is what I was doing 10 years ago, and I'm done doing that. Over this past decade, this whole exercise has changed radically in meaning. It's no longer a farewell tour. This is a victory lap. We're going to hang out, have fun, spend some time with the monster that I love more than people, and enjoy what we got now and everything we got through to make it to another May 16th. Because every single one of those past May 16ths has been a struggle. All 10 of them. And it's worth taking the time to celebrate ourselves a little bit and have a little fun. So come on down, watch some Godzilla movies with me if you want. Should be a good time. See, I told you I could make short form content. 20 minutes is short form, right? Anyways, Autobots transform and roll out. I'm not doing a silly version today.